Okay, Russ, you are host now and we are live. You can make me co-host.
Okay, very good. There you go.
Yeah, thank you. Have a great session.
Thank you. Afternoon, everybody. Hi, May. Hi, Brenda. Hi, Joanne.
I'm testing out my Zoom from my phone, so I'm technically challenged a little bit.
That's okay. Looks good.
Thank you.
Hi, Joanne. Hi, Leslie. Good everybody here. Good to have everybody here this afternoon. Hi, let's see. I think that's Cease. Yep, that's who I thought it was joining. Welcome.
Thank you. I saw you in the earlier class. That's why.
Yes. I remember your background.
Oh, there you go. That's
Looks like,
picture.
What is that? Looks like that Utah, or where are you?
You see it now?
Yes.
And my chair shows up. That's the Grand Canyon.
Oh, the Grand Canyon. Okay. Very good.
Yeah. I kind of, I didn't know that it was going to be such a wonderful picture when I took it, actually. You know, I just kind of fell into that one because it's framed, you know.
Sure.
I like the tree framing.
Very nicely framed.
Thank you. Yeah, that's one of my favorite pictures I've taken.
Hi, Chris. Welcome. Glad to have you joining us. Anybody here take any photography classes with Scott Sleek? Yeah, good. Good to see that. Lots of photographers with Scott Sleek. Good. You could try that, Cease. He's got all sorts of great photography classes.
Okay, Scott. He's one
of our guides, Scott Sleek.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I have taken some.
Anybody taken food, cooking, nutrition classes with Deb?
Yeah.
Oh, you need to try those.
Yeah. I took
Now,
a class
go
on
ahead, Cease.
asparagus. I need to make it now. I got some of the ingredients then. So
Very
we'll
good.
see how it works. Today was strawberries, but I missed it. I was in another class. It's probably your class. I don't know.
Okay, good. Put in the chat today, if you all, whether or not, because the chat will show your name, whether or not you have used Airbnb. So if you've used Airbnb, just say, I've used Airbnb, your name will show, and I'll get an idea. It's kind of an informal way of doing a poll.
I don't even know what it is. What is it?
Well, that's what the whole class is about. So you will put in the chat, I've not used Airbnb.
Oh, okay.
So far, Norma is a no. Good. Janet is a no. May is a no. Joanne is a no. Great. This is what the class is all about. Teaching you Airbnb. Just put in the chat whether or not you used Airbnb. I'll check the results in one more minute. Today's all about it, mostly demonstration. I'll show you how to use it on the computer. I also will show you the app very quickly. I do most of my work on the computer with Airbnb. I honestly, I do a lot of stuff just on my computer because I can type easier. The phone does, some of the phone apps for reservations are easy to use, but I'm always afraid of making a mistake when I'm typing on my phone. So hi, Angie. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Folks are just putting in the chat whether or not they've used Airbnb. Great. We've got all newbies. No one has used Airbnb. Great. And Nancy's putting in one of Scott Sleek's nature photography sessions. Great. That's a good advertisement for Scott's photography. Well, let me go ahead and share my screen with you. A few more folks might join us. But let's get started. How to use Airbnb. Hopefully you all see something that says how to use Airbnb on your screen. Let me know if you don't. And I'll take one last look at the chat. Yes, we do have Nancy, our TA, here with us. So if you have any technical issues, you can type out your issue to Nancy in chat. If you, unless your problem is you can't find the chat, that won't do any good. But Nancy is here to help you. Thanks, Nancy, for being here. I always appreciate our TAs. I'm your guide, Russ Eanes from Harrisonburg, Virginia. I think a lot of you know me. I'm a writer, a walker, a cyclist, and an avid traveler. And I have used Airbnb quite a bit. I think I first used it about 8 years ago. That's as far back as I can find the history. I use it for my work. I used to be a book publisher, and I actually used it for a trip I went to the Frankfurt Book Fair in Germany. And I'm now a full-time guide with Get Set Up. And I love all the energy I get from working with older learners. As you all know, Get Set Up helps you learn useful things from people like you. Useful skills from people like you. So you can do wonderful things. I think you've already shared some of those skills out this morning. Looks like some people have taken Deb's cooking classes and Scott's photography classes. It's all free. We learn from each other. So ideally, we can see you and your cameras are on. You can all request a recording after class of this class. Email help@getsetup.io. And if anyone's joining by live stream, the best way to participate is to join us and register for a class. And we are live today. And lastly, we're not paid to promote any specific products. I'm not being paid to promote Airbnb. We're just an educational organization. Here's our simple agenda today. I'm going to show you how Airbnb works. I'm going to show you how to join and create a profile, how to make a reservation, and how to use reviews. So those are the key things about Airbnb. First of all, I got to point out Airbnb requires a membership. You can't be an anonymous person going in there and just make a reservation like you can at a hotel. Even at a hotel, you have to at least give them your name, your credit card. but for making a reservation, you don't have to be a member of anything. But that's not true in Airbnb. So first of all, you got to become a member, which is free. When you join, you do need to create a profile. That's part of the key of Airbnb, is that you are staying possibly in someone's home and they need to know who you are. And the more you use it, the more hosts will review you, and the more reviews you have, the more likely a host will want to have you. So, and the same thing works in reverse. When you are wanting to make a reservation, you're going to want to read about the reviews of the hosts. So you need to get a membership, which is free, and you need to create a profile. I'll show you about that. You are not always going to be accepted. The host has an option not to accept you. Sometimes we have asked the host if they could bend something, like whether we could come on certain days or stay a little longer or something, and the host can always say no. We have occasionally asked to check in early, or at least arrive early, maybe leave our bags with someone. So again, you are at the mercy, so to speak, of the host. But I've always had good experiences with that, so I can't report anything negative. Honest reviews are at the heart of it. Let me back up that one thing about reviews. I'll give an example. When the first time I used Airbnb, I went to Germany and I arrived in the morning, and the check-in time was like 1 PM. I arrived like 9 AM because I was on an overseas flight. And I asked the host if I could at least drop off my bag. And the host said, you can just come check in early, because no one had been in the room. So he let me in early. I'll show you there are ways you can communicate with your host before you go. Honest reviews are at the heart of Airbnb. So I do encourage people to give honest reviews. If you just give nice reviews because you didn't want to be offensive or offend anyone, but there was a problem that's not fair to the next person coming along. And the way these reviews go, the guest always gets to review last. So that's important to know. That way you can be honest. You also have a way you can communicate directly with the host confidentially. Sometimes I've had some suggestions for the host to improve their place. I didn't feel I wanted to put those in the reviews because I didn't want people to feel I was displeased or unhappy with the place I'd stayed. So I communicated that directly with the host, and Airbnb gives you that option to communicate things separately to the host. I like that. And lastly, mediation is available when there's a conflict. So if you're in a conflict with your host, or the host has one with you, I suppose, Airbnb does have a mechanism for resolving that. So having shown you that, let me stop the share of this and let me go straight to Airbnb and show you what Airbnb looks like. Okay, this is the home screen for Airbnb. And up here in the right-hand corner is my login, and I am logged in. So anytime I pull up this page, I would have to log in, except that Airbnb has cookies, which it drops into my browser, and it recognizes me and pulls up my profile right away. You can see that at the top, front and center. So that's very important. You can look at this, but you really can't do anything until you have a profile. So we're going to go to the profile in a minute. I'm just going to show you the home page. They start right away with making reservations. So the first thing you want to do is you want to plug in a location where you want to go and the dates that's going to check in and out and how many people. That's how it's a very simple reservation system, like anything else. Airbnb does know where you are at a particular point in time, so it may make some suggestions. So it knows all these places within a certain hour drive of where I am, everything from Ocean City to Roanoke to Kill Devil Hills down on the Outer Banks. And if I clicked on one of those, it would give me an opportunity to see what's there. You can do what they call getaways, unique stays. I've seen like staying in a caravan or a trailer somewhere. I mean, a mobile home in another country. You can rent everything from a room in a house to an apartment to an entire home. Those are all open to you. You can see also that there are options whether or not you have a pet. Okay. And they also, Airbnb does have experiences that you can get. So if you want to go like on a safari or a horseback ride, those are things that Airbnb offers as well, or special meals. You also can become a host, so you can take your profile and you can turn yourself into a host for Airbnb, and you can create your profile. People can stay with you. So it works both ways on Airbnb. Let me just show you the section on the profile. On this drop-down list, there are all sorts of things. Like there's a messaging system within Airbnb. So for example, you could message a host that you're going to stay with beforehand to ask questions. You can even message a host that you are not staying with, but you'd like to because you need to know about a place. So an example of that was last summer, I biked from Pittsburgh to Washington, D.C. on the Great Allegheny Passage, the C&O towpath. And I stayed 2 nights in Airbnbs. And what I needed to know, because it wasn't in the profile for one of the places, was did they have a secure place I could lock up my bike at night? The place I was staying was actually a bed and breakfast, which had which used Airbnb to make its reservations. That's the way it worked. And so I messaged the host before I made the reservation. I said, I'd like to come through and stay in your place on these dates. Do you have a secure place to put a bike? And their answer was, yes, you can lock your bike in our garage. So I reserved it. So you can ask hosts questions in advance. And that's the messaging system. Airbnb sends you notifications. I'm not going to show you those. It also does one other nifty little thing. It has trips that you are going on or have been on. So right now, you can see I have no upcoming trips. It will show you my past trips, all the places that I've been. These 1, 2, 3, 4 were all in the last year. And then some of these others are places I've stayed in the past: Cornwall in the UK, Madison, Wisconsin, Newtown, St. Basil's, that was in near Scotland, Frankfurt on Main. That's the place I stayed in Germany. So you can look up those places and you think like, I'm going to go back to that place. I want to stay at the same place, the same people, and then they might still be there. You can see if your host is still using Airbnb. So you can also look up canceled places that you've canceled that are there. So they're all here. So that's nice. And in the past, I've also, like when I went to Frankfurt the first time, I actually reserved my Airbnb about 3 months in advance because I knew that there would be a lot of people coming into town when I was in Frankfurt. I was there for the Frankfurt Book Fair, and they have tens of thousands of overseas travelers, international travelers coming into Germany. And I knew that lodging might get tight. So I booked it well in advance. And I actually at that point had about 3 trips coming up. So that's a nice thing. I like that they keep track of your trips for you. Also, they have a wish list. So let's say you're dreaming about going somewhere someday, and you like a place and you're not ready to book it, but you can just put it on a wish list. And then when you know you want to go for a trip, you can you can look at your wish list and see if those places are available, what their prices are. So on my current wish list is Harper's Ferry. That's just about 2 hours away. And here's a bunch of places that I saw were pretty nice. These 3 right here. And if I want to stay in one of them, I can go look at them right now and see if they're available, and I can change my dates that I want to go. And anyway, it's a nice way to keep track of places you might want to go. And if this is a thing you want to do when you're in the research phase of somewhere before you're ready to go.
A super host. What does that mean?
Yes, a super host is someone who pretty much what it defines. They host a lot of guests, and I guess they have good reviews. And that is a good thing to know. Let me just click on that one. This is Historic Hikers Paradise. And I don't think they're historic hikers. I think it's, I guess the place is historic. But this is it right here. Entire guest suite hosted by Christopher and Christina. Okay. And I can drill into them by their profile by clicking on them. And this is information about them. It says super hosts are experienced, highly rated hosts who are committed to providing great stays for guests. So that's a good thing to know. If you want to stay somewhere and their people are super hosts, that's a good thing. That's yeah, like tips you off in advance. It's a good thing to know. So while we're here, let me just show you something about this destination. This Historic Hikers Paradise. You can see they have a 4.96 out of 5 stars. The people are super hosts, so that's all really good stuff to know right off the bat. Scrolling down, looking at this place, you see a little more information. You have the entire guest suite to yourself, so that's like they call that an entire home. It's enhanced clean, and this had to do a lot during the pandemic, which we're still in. Actually, people want to know how clean is the place I'm going to be. A lot of Airbnbs put a certain amount of time between the rentals. Like the place had to be vacated for 24 hours. They would come in and clean it, and then they would let it sit for longer. There's a self check-in, which is nice. You don't have to meet the host necessarily. You might want to, but you don't have to. So if you're coming in at an unusual time when the host isn't around to welcome you, they'll give you a lockbox with a key in it. Again, tells you that there's super hosts, and then there's house rules. So first of all, they say this place isn't suitable for children under 12, and the host doesn't allow pets, parties, or smoking. If that's good for you, and for a lot of us, those are really perks. We want to know that there have been no pets there. Maybe we have an allergy to cats, which is too bad. I have a cat. I feel sorry for people who have cat allergies. That's good. There's not going to be parties there. Here's a little more information. Only 60 minutes from the nation's capital, and enjoy the small town vibe infused with modern flair, so on and so forth. Scrolling down, here's more information. They have 1 bedroom with 1 king bed and 1 couch. Now, these amenities, it's worth spending time looking at these. So there's Wi-Fi. They have a TV with standard cable. They have a patio or balcony, hair dryer, dedicated workspace, microwave back. So free parking on premises is a real important thing. If you're going to a city and you're driving in by car, a lot of cities, that's a big deal where you can park. Not even huge cities. When I was in one of my previous rentals on the list was Asheville, North Carolina. I wanted to know, is there a parking space there at the place? And there was. If you want to show everything down here, it's important. Like you might want to know, is there laundry? Is there, can you do laundry there? Is there an iron? If I scroll down, Wi-Fi, that's important to know. Is there a kitchen? There's a microwave, dishes, silverware, mini fridge, coffee maker. So I didn't see stove or anything like that. So that tells me that it's very limited in the kitchen. There's a private entrance. That's nice. There's a patio balcony. That's nice. Free street parking. It's a single level home. If you're a person who's restricted by your mobility, that's a good thing to know. Not included. There's not included security cameras. Actually, I kind of like that in a rural setting. Why would I personally want a security camera? There's no kitchen. That's crossed out. And there's no washer. Sometimes, and women like to know this, my wife likes to know this, is there a hair dryer? And let's see. Yep, there it is. Hair dryer in the bathroom. My wife likes to know that because that way she doesn't have to bring along her hair dryer. So we're just reviewing places, and I'm going to back up 1 second. I'm just going to go to the account profile that you create because this is important, and I'm going to mention my own account, for example. So when you create your account, you will put in personal information. So for example, I have my name, gender, date of birth, and then I have more written about me so that people know when they are checking me out as a person who wants to stay there. They have some information. you need to create login and security. You need to put in a form of payment. You can't, you can't create an account without putting in a form of payment. They want to know, do you travel for business or not? And then you can also, here's where I create my profile, which is about me. It's got a picture of me and my wife. I tell where I am. I'm from Harrisonburg, Virginia. I'm a writer, walker, and a cyclist, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it's all the stuff you heard me just say a few minutes ago about myself. And you can see I have lots of reviews. So whenever I have stayed somewhere, the people who were my hosts reviewed me. And if there's somebody who is considering, I asked to stay in their place, they can go in and look at my profile, and they can look at the reviews of me. So perfect guest, see, would welcome back anytime. If someone wanted to host me, they'd probably want to see that. In fact, if they look at that down here, they'll see over and over and over again that there was a pleasure that I stayed there. So I've never had an issue with somebody saying no to me when they wanted to host me. Now, this account and profile is important. And I know that's hard for some people, but this is how it works. This is how we develop it. This is how Airbnb develops a system of trust. And Airbnb is not the only thing like this. There's couch surfing and all sorts of home exchanges, different ways in which you need to have a profile, and people have to understand and feel they can trust you. Any questions right now about this before I go any further about creating a profile?
Do you have to give all this private information? I mean, I don't even have that on my Facebook page.
You do. You can put as much as you want or as little as you want.
Okay.
It says here, you can view my profile on website hidden by Airbnb. I have a website with information about me. I have a Facebook page. So I figure people can really find out about anything they want to about me within limits. People shouldn't be able to find out any financial information. But the more you feel comfortable putting up there, it tells a bit about who you are and shows you're not fake, that you're real, the more you are trusted by others. More questions about creating this profile. By the way, you don't have to do it all at once. You can go in, you can start working on this, and you can save and stop, and there's a point where Airbnb can say, well, you're good. Now you can start making reservations, or you can try to reserve a place, but they won't let you go until you have all the information that I was showing you before filled in. Also, all this stuff about your account has to be done. Now, some of this you don't have to do. Like, I don't have anything in professional hosting tools because I don't host. I haven't done any referrals. If I could, I would get some money off a stay if I did that. It's because most people I know use Airbnb. All my kids do. Any more questions about that profile? Okay, let's go back to reserving, and let's just put in a sample destination. So let's put in here. Let's go back and put Harper's Ferry, West Virginia. So it popped up that because I've been searching for it quite a bit lately. And then I pick my date that I'm going to check in. Whoop, there did that go? Let's go for Saturday the 29th until Monday the 31st. That's Memorial Day weekend. And I'm going to have 2 adults. Go with my wife, hit search. And these are the places that Airbnb pulls up for me. They are not necessarily in any particular order, but if I'd like to, I could put on price, and I can't change the filter other than filtering things out. So I could say, I don't want anything over, let's say $125. So I can save that, and it'll filter out anything that's over $125 a night. So here's the thing, that this is where Harper's Ferry is right here. So I'm going to zoom in on the map. There's different ways you can look at these properties. One way is by just looking at the list over here, and these are all the places on the map. And you can also zoom in on the map and look at what's available on the map. Now, let's go back. This is actually Harper's Ferry right here, and you can see there's nothing in Harper's Ferry on my dates. So I'd have to be at this place, which is $35 a night, and this place, which is $100. And so there's the one that's $100, and this is the one you can see. Look, there's RV parking, sleep in your vehicle. Right now, there's nothing good in my where I want to stay. There is a place. It's a simple and sweet private room in Brunswick. So I'm going to click on that one, and so I can. Here this shows what it is. That is, in my opinion, a lousy photo. That doesn't show me anything. There's a dark bed and some blinds, and they've got a picture of the bathroom. So that right away, I'm going to be honest, this right away makes me say, forget these people. They couldn't even take the time to put up decent photos. So now we're learning some of the ins and outs of using Airbnb. The way Airbnb works is every time you click on a site, it opens a new tab. So I'm just going to close that tab on my computer and go back here. Let's do something a little different just to give you a wider range of places. Let's go back in and let's change those dates, and let's go to a couple dates in the middle of a week of June and see what it pulls up. This was the same place we saw before, Historic Hiker's Paradise. That was the one I was looking at. Here's a place I stayed before, the Chickadee Room at Harper's Ferry Guest House. So that was a very nice place. Now, what you can see over here is that I've got this little red heart. That means it's on my wish list. I've already seen that place. In fact, I've stayed at the Chickadee Room and I liked it. Now, let's click on one of these. But before I do that, I want to show you that you can look at it by map, and then it will also have options over here. And every time I scroll over that option, see how it popped up in black on the map. I'll go down here to Harper's Chickadee Room. It's moving around on the map. So this is a list over here on the left, but over on the right is my map. And as I go down the list, it moves around and just shows me where that place is on the map. Let's drill into Chickadee Room. We already looked at Historic Hiker's Paradise. So I'll click on that one. And these are the photos of the room. Now, these are nice photos. That tells me right off the bat, these people are serious. And the fact is, it's a bed and breakfast that is using Airbnb to handle their reservations. I've stayed there before. I like it. It's a private room and bed and breakfast hosted by Brian and Kathy. And again, I can click on them and it'll tell me more about Brian and Kathy. They're super hosts. They've got lots of good reviews, 970. Their identity is verified. They're a super host. And they also have co-host named Kathy. I'm not sure why they've got Brian and Kathy and just Kathy. I have a feeling that there's some in-laws there that help. Their response rate is 100%. That means they always get back to you and they always respond within an hour. So you can contact the host on this button here if you want to ask them a question in advance. And that's what I did before when I asked. These are the people that I asked if they had secure place for me to put my bike. And down here's a map. I can see where it is located on the map. When I was looking for a place to stay, I said, perfect. I want to stay at a place in the center of Harper's Ferry. And that's what that is. Now, here's one thing that just to watch out for. When this was advertised, it was advertised at $112 a night. There are other fees that are associated with Airbnb, and these are ones to pay attention to because they can boost the price up quite a bit. So there's my basic price of $224. That's 2 nights, 112 times 2 nights. Then there are 2 one-time fees associated with this. So for example, if you were staying 3 or 4 nights, these service fees wouldn't necessarily go up. But there's a service fee. Okay. And you can click on and find what that is. And that's basically the host can just decide what a service fee is. Sometimes they call it cleaning fees. And then there's the occupancy taxes and fees. And this is something that's newer. Airbnb came in and started cutting pretty dramatically into the local hotel and bed and breakfast business years ago. And a lot of municipalities and towns, including Harrisonburg, where I live, has kind of fought back against that. And they've required, in Harrisonburg, where I live, for example, an Airbnb has to have a license from the city. So you can't just open one up. And they have to pay these occupancy taxes. So this is similar to what you're going to find in a hotel. The one that can vary a lot is that service fee. And honestly, the service fee is how the host is getting back what they're going to pay Airbnb, probably. I mean, I can't say for sure, but that's probably what Airbnb is charging them to use the platform. So you can reserve it. And you can, if you want to change the number of guests, you can change your check-in, check-out. And then I always tell people this, because this is important to me, check out the amenities, make sure they're what you want. They offer breakfast. They have a refrigerator. It's air conditioning. There's free parking on premises. Lots of great stuff. So I like that. One thing I always look for, though, is their cancellation policy. What I want to know is what's going to happen if I have to cancel. So, down here under the house rules, let's see, they're not there. They have moved the sleeping arrangements, amenities. Let's see if they have it here. They're not listed there. That's normally something they have right up here on the site, is their cancellation policy, and I don't see it here. That's something that's important to me, because some places don't have very aggressive cancellation policy. In other words, you won't get all your money back. I'm going to scroll down here and see if it's down here at the bottom. Here it is, cancellation policy. Cancel before June 3rd and get a full refund minus the service fee. So that might be because Airbnb is charging them the service fee, even if it's canceled. So that's an important thing to pay attention to. Some give you a full refund. Some are very restricted in their cancellation. So I always go down here to the bottom where it says things to know, and I look up the cancellation policy. I always like to have some flexibility in my travel. I don't like to be locked in. Of course, the sooner you reserve something, often the better the price. So you have to balance price versus the flexibility to cancel. But I always check the cancellation policy. This is one little change in their site. The cancellation policy always used to be right up here at the front, so you could see that when you were reserving. So, questions about making a reservation on Airbnb?
I find it interesting that they're saying due to COVID, they're not doing the continental breakfast for the guests. So it's
Yes.
not the Airbnb. Not right now, anyway.
That's exactly right. I stayed there, and what they did was they provided everything for the breakfast in the refrigerator for me. And yeah, it really varies. I stayed at a bed and breakfast on this same trip, I think maybe even the night before, an inn, and they served us a full breakfast the next day. It was a place that's famous for its breakfast. So yeah, it all depends on their risk comfort.
Right.
Their comfort levels with risk. More questions about making reservations and looking at hosts. The first time I stayed at an Airbnb was in the room of an apartment of a man in Germany. That's when I went to the Frankfurt Book Fair, and he had other guests for the book fair staying in another room. And it was such a great experience. I looked him up when I went back the next year to make sure I stayed with him. And of course, he remembered me and he'd enjoyed having me. I had a room. I had access to the kitchen, access to the bathroom, and he was around to help me as much as necessary. He didn't speak very much English. He actually was originally from Croatia. He spoke German, he spoke Spanish, but he spoke very little English. So between my broken German and broken Spanish, we managed to communicate. But when he had something important to say to me, he called up his son, who has excellent English, and put his son on the phone to translate. So he really made the extra effort. I loved the place where I stayed. It was just in an apartment building. and I was just in a regular old neighborhood in Germany, in a Frankfurt, with there's nothing special about it, and that was the way I like to stay. And I had a lock for my door was locked, so I had a key when I left, so I felt very secure and safe. And that's a lot of B&Bs are like that. My wife and I have stayed in just a room in a guest house. One thing we like about it is that if you're in a local's home and you can talk to the local, they can give you all sorts of insider tips about where to eat, what is safe, that sort of thing. And I've never felt unsafe in any of the Airbnbs. My worst experience on an Airbnb was I didn't check what room or what floor an apartment was on. My wife and I rented an Airbnb for about another time we were in Frankfurt. We were there for 4 nights, maybe 5 nights, and we didn't realize it was on the 5th floor, so we had to walk it was a long walk up with all our stuff. Didn't kill us, but that I wish I'd known that before I went. My worst experience has actually been with beds, and so I actually scroll through the reviews and I look for anything about a bed, because my wife and I have had a couple places where the beds weren't all that comfortable. Actually, Europeans seem to like harder mattresses in some countries than we do, and they're a bit too firm for us, or not good pillows or something like that. We did stay for a whole week in a house out in Cape Cod, and we had some issues with the house, like there was no tea kettle, there were no hooks to hang towels on. There was actually no place to put towels anywhere. And we asked the host if we could buy a towel rack to hang up things, clothes rack, and a tea kettle. We would leave them there. So you sometimes have to negotiate with the owner, but I've always had good experiences. One other experience that we had was we thought the place was a little bit dirty when we walked in. It hadn't been cleaned up enough between us and the previous guest, and we mentioned that to the host, who came in and cleaned things up right away and apologized. So for the most part, I've had really good experiences with Airbnb. I would rate them all A's. One of my best experiences, besides that one in Germany, was my wife and I stayed in a room in a large house in York, England, and it was like a 6-bedroom house. It was huge. And the owner lived on the top floor in two bedrooms and a little living room up there. And he rented out the rest of the house as an Airbnb. And we had folks from all over the world staying with us. So it was kind of like almost like a hostel experience. We met every morning in the kitchen and talked about what we were going to do that day and got all sorts of tips about where to go. And the owner came in and gave us more tips. So that's one thing I like about Airbnb. And it was less expensive. Not that you can't get those things from a regular bed and breakfast, but again, it was just in a regular old neighborhood by the city walls, and we enjoyed it. So again, when you're looking at Airbnb, there are lots of these things you want to look at. If you have accessibility restrictions, look for that. What floor is it in? You can find out if there are stairs to get up to the place, if that's a problem for you. There's stairs on a walkway. And again, I would look at those extra fees. More questions about Airbnb.
Do you have any experience with Airbnbs with pets?
I don't. Stayed.
No, what I'm not like you as a guest, but Airbnbs, if the host is there and with pets they have, and then
I understand what you're
issues.
asking.
Yeah.
That would, they might say something like pets allowed, pets not allowed. That would be for you, the guest. If you think there's an issue with them having pets, I would ask them. You can message the host. That would be where you go down here, where you contact them in advance, right here. Contact host. You could ask them if that were an issue, and that might be something that you might detect from photographs. That's why I really like a lot of photographs. And that first place I showed you that just had 2 really lousy photographs, that right there made it a no for me. If you can't take the effort to post a good photograph of your place, I'm not sure you're going to put up the effort to be a good host. I could be wrong, but these people right here, now this is a bed and breakfast. Let's look at a different one. Let's look at this one here, down here. Harper's Ferry basement flat near Shenandoah River. And if you can see when I scroll over it, it pops up right there. So it's south of Harper's Ferry on the map. I'm going to click on that one. And they've got some photos, so I can see that this is, well, they're mostly photos of the kitchen, a few photos of the bathroom. When you can't bother to close the toilet when you take a picture, I have a question about that. It's my wife and I, the beef my wife and I have. This just shows you the whole apartment. You can see right here, there's a washer dryer unit in a closet. Yeah, these are not bad photos. So that's okay. You get an idea of what the place is like. Here's more information about Sherry. Looks like she's got one of those super host badges. Great. It says 100% of recent guests gave the check-in process a 5-star rating. And again, she doesn't allow pets or smoking. So there's more information here about that. Let's scroll down here. Here's a rustic cabin out in the country. Here's an efficiency apartment over in Charlestown. Here's a place, beautiful historic hiking, biking, and C&O Canal in Brunswick, which is near Harper's Ferry. So you can see this is more in town what this place looks like. Show all the photos. We can go through here. Again, they show you what the bathroom's like. They've got a kitchen, bedroom, living room, place to eat. So you get an idea. They've got lots of photos. That's good. And this shows you, I guess, what the place looked like once upon a time. This is what's like in the winter if you're going to go there. And I guess this is a bit what Brunswick, the town, is like. Down here is our look at this. Now, these people have something that they've got besides the service fee. They have a cleaning fee of $50. So you can see the $90 a night is $280, but the total is $276 because they've added on all these fees. And so that's something to look out for. Not every place adds a cleaning fee. They did. The service fee comes out of Airbnb. So if you add nights, so let's go in here and add one more night. Oops, let's go in. Let's do 3 nights. You can see the service fee went up, but the cleaning fee is a flat fee, and the occupancy tax is I don't remember now if those went up or down or not, but the service fee went up. So those are service fees per night. So this is all information to look through, read reviews. I like to if I'm not sure about a place, I like to scroll through and find out the reviews. I tend to trust the reviews in Airbnb more than reviews you might see in a lot of other places. That's because it's kind of hard to game the reviews on Airbnb. These are all people that have stayed there and they said something honest. You know, when you're reading reviews on Amazon about a product, Amazon, you don't know exactly where all those reviews came from. They could have sent products to people to review. I do know of people who've paid folks to review their products. So the nice thing about Airbnb is these people have all invested in staying in this place, and they can tell you more. You can read their reviews of what they thought of the place. So I do find the reviews in Airbnb to be a pretty good barometer of what the place is going to be like. And here's a 1-bedroom apartment in Shepherdstown, another place out in Charlestown. So this is all getting farther and farther away from Harper's Ferry. Tiny house at Tiny Hidden Ridge. Now that's got me curious. What's that about? That looks like that's a tiny house. So this is what it's going to be like. Show all the photos. Actually, if everyone is staying in a tiny house, this is your chance to see what a tiny house is like inside. It's tiny. Looks like you sleep up top, up here. And looks like they've got some kind of kitchen or grill outside. Tiny house parking. Maybe there's more than one tiny house. I don't know. Oh, they have goats. So that's a bit of an example of how Airbnb works. You can use it around the world. We can go back and do a new search. I could say I want to go to Florence. Let's say I want to go to Florence, Italy. And let's say I want to go there and I want to spend a week there in September. So let's put in Monday the 6th. I'm going to check out the 13th, and I can search and I can see what kind of Airbnbs are in Florence. Well, now, if you know anything about the city, I don't know much, but you can see this is the center of the city. You can start clicking on places. You can see there's wide variety of prices. Let's click on this place that says San Lorenzo, $49 a night. And they've got, this is going to cost me almost $500 to stay there for the week. There's a cleaning fee and a service fee. They're built, those are one-time fees. And then there's an occupancy fee and tax. And then this is $49 times 7 nights. So there's the price. Looks like these people are also super hosts. They have 4 guests, 1 bedroom, 2 beds, and 1 bath. That's an entire apartment hosted by Bianca. So here's what the sleeping arrangements are. Bedroom 1 has 1 double bed, and then there's a common space with a sofa bed. And when you're staying overseas, it's really important that you check out the amenities. You want to make sure you have Wi-Fi, a washer. If you're going to stay somewhere for a week, that ought to be very important to you. At least I like that. Luggage drop off allowed. That probably means if you come in early, can you leave your luggage there? Like a lot of folks arrive overnight on a flight, and they get there before the place allows them to check in. So again, this is you can see the reviews here. They're all in English. Isn't that interesting? I have sometimes seen reviews that are in another language. They've had 203 reviews, so they are super hosts. So if you want to go overseas, you can find something like that. I should point out up here, there are different ways that you can sort those. You can look for cancellation. It says, like, for example, you can turn on only show stays that offer cancellation flexibility. So I could save that to my search. Now I can go down here and I can say, do I want to stay in the entire place to myself? Do I want a private room? Do I want a hotel room? Do I want a shared room? I can select any or all of these. Let's say you just want to stay in a private room. Maybe you're trying to save money, and the price, you want to keep the price down. So you don't want to stay more than, you don't want to pay more than, let's say I only want to pay $100. Let's say 75 a night. Let's see if we can get that up close. 75. I can save that. Now it'll resort and give me all the places that are within those parameters. Look at this place is only $23 a night. Florence Studio Academia. So maybe you've been itching to get to Florence, and you can find out you can get a private room and tiny house. Wonder how tiny that is. It's in front of the Accademia Gallery Museum. You can see that is relatively inexpensive, $288 if you just want the room. And it all depends on what you're looking for. Do you want a room with access to a kitchen? So you would go down here and you can see, yep, they've got access to a kitchen. So you don't need your own kitchen if you've got a room. And that's actually what my wife and I often like. They've got Wi-Fi, a kitchen. They've got access to, let's just see what they've got access to, a washer and dryer. There is no laundry offered. So that's a good thing to notice. If you're planning on doing a load of laundry, you might want to take note of that. Look, they have an
Got
EV
a nice
charge.
discount for staying a week. Do you see that?
This right here.
Yeah, weekly discount. Yeah.
Yes, that's nice. That's nice. This looks like a pretty good deal. So if I wanted to go to Italy and stay in Florence, I could create a wish list. So I go up here and I click save. And now it says, well, what do you want to save it to? So I'm going to create a new wish list, and I'm just going to call it Italy. And now I've got an Italy wish list, and this place has been saved to it. So it's very easy to find places and to keep track of places and save places that you like on Airbnb. There is a downside to Airbnb that I'm going to mention. And if you know Rick Steves, he mentions it, and he has a valid point that in some cities in the world, places to live for locals are decreasing because a lot of landlords are turning their apartments into Airbnbs for tourists. And it's made it more difficult, more expensive for the locals to find housing. I get that. There's some really bad cities. I know Amsterdam is considered one of them. So just keep that in mind when you're going somewhere. I've used Airbnb for staying in everything from rooms to apartments and houses, and I really like it, but I am aware of that one downside. We're about out of time, but I'd like to ask if there are any more questions about using Airbnb. Got time for one more question?
I don't understand the difference between an Airbnb and just a bed and breakfast.
So
A
in
bed- a-
Airbnb, nobody's
yeah.
home. A bed and
A-
breakfast, like somebody's there, like staying in the house.
Airbnb is
like-
licensed.
So like, if you had somebody go,
I'm here more than one person at a time. Was that Leslie asking a
Awesome.
question?
Damn it.
Let me explain. Airbnb is a sharing site where you can share your room or your house or an apartment or whatever you want for others at the rate you set. A bed and breakfast generally is a licensed facility, like a hotel or like a bed and breakfast. They usually have licenses that are local. As I mentioned, Airbnb is becoming more and more licensed. So it is becoming a lot like a traditional bed and breakfast or hotel. And some hotels and bed and breakfasts use it for their reservations. So the two kind of systems are slowly melding toward each other. But it's a good way, at least, to get, it's an option to find a room in a house, which is a less expensive way to stay somewhere if you want to stay for a time. I hope that answered the question, Leslie. And I should also say, on a bed and breakfast, you don't have to create a profile to stay somewhere. You just have to be willing to pay money with a credit card to stay in a bed and breakfast. The host may not know anything about you until you show up.
Thank you.
Well, we're out of time. This is great. We'll be doing this class again, and I appreciate you all being here. Please give me feedback on anything I can do to help you. You'll get some notes at the end of this class with all the points I've covered, and let me know. Any of you, let me know if you created an Airbnb profile and stay in a place. I'd love to hear that you use the class to do that. Have a good afternoon, everybody.
Thank you for an informative class.
Yep. See you in another class. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.